Talk sports.
Now it's time for Monty in the Morning.
Hey, yo, man. How the heck are you? It is Tuesday, May 18th, 2021. The Monty Show number 497.
Yeah, we're legit and everything.
How about that, bro? I hadn't even thought about that. On Friday, we will do the Monty Show 500.
Pretty
Our
legit.
500 episode.
You guys even doing a show today?
Do you guys ever watch the NBA?
Are you guys doing a show today?
Hey, fat ass, eat a cookie. Anyway, the point is, I'm not really sure where that came from. The point is, this show's been around for a while now, and we are meteorically heading for 750 subscribers right here on the old YouTube machine. Appreciate everybody who listens to this show on podcast as well. This week has been a really big week for the audio version of the show. Just get on the old Google machine and search The Monty Show, M-O-N-T-Y, The Monty Show. On Google, you'll find, obviously, our YouTube channel. You want to hit subscribe because when we get to 750 subscribers, and let me tell you where we're at because it updates periodically. On a regular basis, we pick up subscribers. But when we get to 750, and we are currently at 698.
Hey.
So only 52 to go. We are at 698. So when we get to 750, we are going to give away a PlayStation 5, we think. And one of our brand new exclusive elevated clothing hoodies just for your consumption. All you have to do is hit subscribe. Then you have to take a picture that you're subscribed, put it on either Twitter or Instagram or both.
If you
want to really get viral, put it on Twitter and Instagram and tag The Monty Show, M-O-N-T-Y, The Monty Show, and SLC Supercars. Good morning to Vision Gaming. He says, great show yesterday. Kind of shocked in all your talk of the NBA contenders. Not once did you talk about the Suns.
Bro, did you even listen to the show?
Well, I've been accused of over-slurpification.
Over-slurpification.
That's a true word. Look it up. I'm sure it'll come up if you somewhere
sure.
on the internet.
Right.
The over-slurpification of Devin Booker.
Wet like on book.
And the point is that we've talked months and months and months about the Suns. So, did we omit them yesterday?
They definitely came up a little bit.
They did. We talked about the fact that my belief is it'll be Suns and Lakers in round one because I think the Lakers are going to win that play-in game.
Right.
I think they'll wind up in the 7, and I think it's all bets off. Kitty bar the door for the 8. Which I'd love to see the Warriors get the 8. But I don't know that that's going to happen. But I mean, I look at the Phoenix Suns. And the funny thing is, bringing this up, we were talking in our pre-show meeting behind the scenes about real contenders in the NBA. Mm-hmm. I feel like the Suns are missing just a wee bit more offense, and it's probably DeAndre Ayton. And if DeAndre Ayton raises his game, then you may be talking about a contender. But the problem is, I don't see in a 7-game series. I don't see them beating the Clippers or the Lakers. I think they have every opportunity to beat the Nuggets because they are uniquely set up to handle Nikola Jokic. And I think, obviously, they have the bodies to handle MPJ. But, it'll be interesting to see where they go. But as far as a championship, I don't view the Suns as a NBA Finals contender right now anyway.
Not right at the second, but I think the thing that I'd be worried about if I was playing the Suns is just that this is a team who has consistently kind of lived on that narrative of, hey, we're the underdog. Nobody expects us to be here. And that's changed a little bit with them being the 2 seed this year. But I think going into the postseason, it doesn't pass them by that they know that people don't consider them like a favorite or anything like that. I mean, they know that. Everybody's talking about the Lakers and them getting healthy and them doing their thing. So if you're the Suns, you're just saying, hey, we're going to take this thing, literally one game at a time, and that's how we're going to look at it. If you think about how Monty Williams handled the bubble, that's how they approached it. That's how they handled this season, and it's given them great performance. When I look at an individual matchup, Yeah, are the Suns short like one guy? Yeah, probably they are. But I also think as a team, they are one of the few teams in this mix that really has come together and consistently plays like team basketball. They don't rely just on Paul or just on Book for most of their production. You see a lot of guys like Cam Johnson. You've got Bridges that's in the corner a lot making threes. I mean, you've got these guys who they drafted and developed who are now making a difference for them. And that's why I say, yeah, sure. Are they a finals contender? No, not yet. I think if they get to the Western Conference Finals, then I think we're having a different conversation, because then I think they know that they can beat anybody. And that to me is a very dangerous thing. But they are a team that I think probably doesn't get to even the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, and I think if they, depending on how far they go here, I think the obviously the elephant in the room is Devin Booker. I mean, he's going to have to shoot a lot better. And again, with my over slurpification of Devin this year, hey baby, my point is that I think Devin Booker is an integral part of their success. Now, I know that's not, oh my God, really shocking hot take. It's not. I get it.
Are we clear on that?
But my point is that I think Book is a guy that has to find his 3-point shot again. And it's gone away, and he's struggled with it, and it's why he, in my opinion, had some off nights down the stretch because the 3-ball didn't go in. And I think part of that is he's become an elite mid-range player, and that's always going to impact your 3-point shot. You work and work and work and work on that mid-range, you're going to struggle from 3 a little bit. So he's now developing and growing. So I think maybe this week off, maybe he really dedicates himself to getting that 3-ball going. I don't know. But I think Devin Booker is going to have to shoot that 3. But again, I will just say, objectively speaking, they're not on par with the Lakers if the Lakers are healthy. They're not the Clippers. I think they are a great matchup for a lot of teams in the West. But even I think they will have trouble. One of the teams I think they'll struggle with is Dallas. I think Dallas presents a matchup issue for the Suns, although they're just as athletic. It'd be interesting to see how they would defend Luka in that series. So I just think the Suns are one guy short. And again, and we're about to talk about Rudy Gobert, but again, I would say, Jake, don't be married to DeAndre Ayton.
Right.
Bigs in this league, unless they're elite, unless they're Joel Embiid, unless they're Nikola Jokic, I think they're expendable, and I certainly think DeAndre Ayton's one of those guys.
Yeah, I think his defense is obviously what's in question. Nobody questions his offensive abilities or what he's able to do. But I think his defense, and even if you take it a layer further, like a layer deeper, you start to kind of understand that it's an intensity issue. It's a lack of a killer mentality, as I like to say it. He's not going out there looking to dominate his opponent. He's going out there looking to do his job and kind of just, give the team the production it needs, but he's not taking like that alpha mentality, like let's say Jokic is, for an example. He's not taking an alpha mentality out there and saying, hey, it's my job. This series is gonna be won or lost on my back, and I want to make sure we win. So I'm gonna give this team, 25-15 through the postseason. I'm going to give this team just incredible performances to take us to the promised land. And that's why I think, again, after this postseason is over, when the Devin Booker legacy talks start happening and what's Book going to do, depending on what happens, I think you really got to take into consideration how guys like DeAndre Ayton played. Because if DeAndre Ayton is, just getting dominated by his man, there's nothing Devin Booker can do about that, or Chris Paul, or anybody else, and that's why I say this Suns team, and you've been saying it, this Suns team, unfortunately, I think their fate on some level rests in his hands, and that's not. I don't know that I would want to be there. That's kind of not a great place to be.
No, and this is a good transition to move into talking about Rudy Gobert.
Hey, look here, man.
You know how much Jake does not like Rudy Gobert, right?
Right.
And you know that Jake, at one point, said that Rudy Gobert should be cut by the Jazz instantly.
Is this the dagger?
He didn't say that. I'm just being a jerk because Jake and I part company on Rudy Gobert. I think Rudy Gobert is an elite defensive player. I think he's the best defensive player in the NBA, and I think that's where the lid is on his talent. I don't think Rudy Gobert is an elite NBA center. I think he is an elite NBA center defender. And I think Rudy Gobert tends to limit the upward potential of the Utah Jazz. I think that Zach Lowe at ESPN, their NBA senior writer, makes a really compelling case for this when he released his 3-team NBA rankings, and Rudy Gobert is third-team center for Zach Lowe's NBA all NBA teams.
Yeah.
Agree, disagree? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, so here's how it breaks down, just to give you guys perspective if you haven't seen this. First team is Jokic, second team is Embiid, and then like you were just saying, third team is Gobert. And I have to tell you, I agree with it. I think, when you're putting together all NBA teams or when you're evaluating a player, we don't just evaluate the defensive side of the ball. Like we evaluate the entire package that you bring to the table. So when I look at this, I say, okay, well, it's a pretty clear-cut reason why Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid are ahead of Rudy Gobert. And that's simply because those two guys are capable of giving you 40 points a night and giving you the 20 boards. And Jokic specifically has shown an ability over the course of the season after Jamal Murray goes down with the ACL to distribute and really kind of lead this team in that way. And I think that the flexibility, the ability to be pliable as a player, I think is a huge conversation. And I think Rudy Gobert has a lot of opportunity to grow with that. I think Rudy set like one of Rudy's greatest strengths, not just defensively but offensively, is the way he sets picks. He has found a way to pretty much set a moving screen every time he sets a screen and get away with it. And I'm not saying that's cheating. I'm saying if they're not blowing the whistle, go ahead and do it. And I love it. But I think where he falls short is, hey, he's not a great passer. Sometimes on certain nights, not every night, but certain nights, he really struggles to catch the ball.
Yeah.
So that limits how much you can feed him. And then lastly, obviously, as we've talked about on the show at length, he doesn't have a jumper or any kind of like back to the basket game, and that's why he's 13.
He doesn't finish anywhere that's not a dunk, and even I hesitate to say within 2 feet of the basket because he can't. His layups are even awkward. I mean, if you watch Rudy Gobert, try to get the ball up to the rim, if he's not dunking it, there's a question. It will never be just all bottom of the net. It's always rattle around. If he uses glass, it's a real question whether it goes in or not. Rudy Gobert's limitations will be the limitations of the Utah Jazz because we know the top end of Bojan Bogdanovic. We know the top end of a guy like a Joe Ingles.
Yeah.
We know that you can count on Donovan Mitchell. We know what Mike Conley is. I think you don't know what Rudy can do offensively because we've never seen him do anything offensively.
Yeah.
Right? And everybody points to these videos of Rudy Gobert shooting jumpers and threes, and that's great and that's cool and all that he's doing that. He doesn't do that for the Jazz. And his offensive game has really not evolved past, hey, throw me a lob, I'll dunk it. Let me get a rebound and dunk it. It's very rare that you see him get a high post, hey, let me put my back to the basket because there's no win there.
Yeah.
Rudy Gobert's best offensive ability is pick and roll, and they don't use him in the roll. So you're starting to see when the Jazz pick and roll, teams are attacking the ball handler now because you don't have to worry about Rudy. You can block that lob with backside help. That limitation is what's going to limit the Jazz. Where Rudy goes offensively is probably where this Jazz team goes, which not just keep picking the scab off an old wound. You don't pay a guy, what is it, 205?
205.
You don't pay a guy $205 million to be a limitation.
Yeah.
That's my biggest issue with Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't want to see, and I'm sure I know we're getting a lot of comments already, and I'm sure there's a few comments in there saying, well, you guys never say anything nice about Rudy. Like, I need you guys to understand that this conversation is about all NBA teams. Okay, this is not a hey, what's great about Rudy Gobert? We know what's great about Rudy Gobert, which is, hey, he's a great defender. He is an intimidating presence in the middle. But then on the other side of the ball, this is not just, hey, who's the best defender in the league? Yes, he should win Defensive Player of the Year. Absolutely. He's a great defender. That's the plus side. But again, when we're talking about winning championships and we're talking about the legacy of potentially one of the best players this organization has ever had in Donovan Mitchell, we have to talk about the fact that Rudy Gobert limits them offensively. I've said it probably, I don't know how many times, I can't count, but I've said it a number of times that the Utah Jazz play 4-on-5 on offense. They play 4-on-5 on offense. And what I mean is Rudy Gobert is not a threat offensively to the defense. So you've got Joel Embiid in the pick and roll, guarding the ball handler, forcing the ball handler to feed it to Rudy in the lob, and then he's still able to get back and block Rudy's shot. That should tell you everything you need to know about Rudy Gobert's game.
Yeah, and the question is, how do the Jazz leverage that? And how they're going to leverage that is you're going to have to move the basketball. Because when you're in pick and roll, let's say it's Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, and again, everybody yesterday freaked out that we said he may not be ready for game one. That's not us saying that.
No, that's the media saying that. That's the guys that cover the team.
There's people around the NBA talking about the fact that, Donovan may not be ready for game one, but here nor there. My point is I look at what the Jazz will do. If it's Don and Rudy in the pick and roll, Rudy's going to come up, set that screen. Donovan's going to get attacked, and I think he's going to have to quickly move the ball. Ideally, you'd like to throw it to Rudy, and he will, either finish or throw that ball to the corner. Because anything that's an open look for three on this team is a win. But he's not the best passer in the world. I'm not saying Rudy doesn't pass or that he's a bad passer. I'm just telling you, against a team like the Lakers, I don't see how Rudy Gobert is able to pass out of that pick and roll. That's why you don't see the tandem, the second guy in the pick and roll, give him the ball very often, unless it's a drive to the basket and lob for a dunk. What other option do you have to give Rudy Gobert the ball in a high pick and roll?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's a lot of potential, a lot of upside potential, as they call it, for
With
Rudy.
Very little downside risk.
Yes, correct.
Wolf of Wall Street.
There's a lot of potential there with him passing in the corner, because I think, and if you watch Jazz games, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about here, which is when they kick to the corner and they swing the ball and they move it around the arc, they almost always find an open look. And I think that as a team, from a team perspective, that's where the inconsistency kind of comes in, and that's where not having Don and Mike has really been interesting, because without Don and Mike, there's been a lot more ball movement, because they've been forced to say, okay, we got to create open looks because we don't have guys who are athletic enough on their own to just go and find
That's
it. And that's why I say when they come back and in the postseason, they need to find that ball movement against teams like the Lakers.
But I'll also say I think the guy who suffered the most without Don and Mike is Joe Ingles. Mm-hmm. Because I still maintain that, yes, I get it. Donovan Mitchell is your most important player. I totally understand that. I think Joe Ingles has to be making threes. When Joe Ingles makes threes for this Jazz team, it's a completely different dynamic offensively. It creates a lot of scramble for the opposition. And when he makes those threes, and if that ball's kicked to the corner and Joe Ingles is standing in the corner, that ball's going in.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I know I've said this 1,001 times. The Jazz have got to find a way to get Joe Ingles back and rolling.
Yeah.
I think he's that important. And I think once he is not starting, I think he becomes a much better player. Because his role, he and I don't know what made them do it, but when they moved him to that guy off the bench, I think he became a better player.
Right.
And I'm not saying that Joe Ingles is old, and I know we have a lot of people in Australia that listen to the show. I'm not ripping Joe Ingles. He's just a better player off the bench for the Jazz.
I think you don't have to call him old to say that age definitely, starts to play a factor. I think, as a head coach, Quinn Snyder's job is to look at each player and say, hey, based on your skill set and where you are as a player, how can I get the most efficient minutes out of you? And I think there's some serious credence to, that I love the bench mob idea of Ingles, Clarkson, and Favors. Those three guys coming off the bench.
What about George Niang?
The minivan has been starting.
Man, don't you disrespect the Yugo.
Okay, fuck you.
Yeah.
God. The Yugo. Come on, the Yugo.
The Yugo.
Nothing? Okay. Anyway, Mick wants to know, where do you guys rank Don and Rudy in the MVP conversation? I don't, and this is probably going to piss some people off too. How do you put Rudy Gobert in the MVP conversation? Because right now, my top 5 in the MVP, I think Nikola Jokic wins it.
Yeah.
I think Steph Curry deserves to be the second nod there. And then there's everybody else.
Yeah.
I don't think there's even a close, and I know Suns fans have been tweeting at me a lot lately about, hey, why aren't you putting CP3 in the MVP conversation? Because if you look at the case for Nikola Jokic and you look at the case for Steph Curry, and if you want to just argue merits, Steph Curry's got a much better case than Nikola Jokic. The numbers don't say that. The sentiment, the momentum around the NBA doesn't say that. I think Steph Curry's got as strong a case as anybody to be the NBA MVP. Make me the case that Rudy Gobert is more integral to this Jazz team than Steph is to his team. Make me the case that with Donovan Mitchell, he's out of the lineup. His team still finishes number 1 in the NBA. That's not the ingredients for an MVP, right?
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, he missed a bunch of games. That's not the ingredients for an MVP. Why is Steph Curry now being talked about as an MVP? Well, because he played most of the season, and he was a dominant player. I look at Nikola Jokic. I think he's twice the player that Rudy Gobert is. And B, I think without Jamal Murray, who was the lifeblood of that team, energy and spirit-wise, Nikola Jokic still managed to put up, just engorged numbers, if you will.
Yeah.
And I think he's the engine that makes that team go.
Yeah.
So I think he makes MPJ a better player. I think even without all of their guards that were out, they still found a way to hang on to a top 5 spot in the Western Conference, and I think that's really significant.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about, with Steph, you're talking about a guy who's had to play with G League players this year, man. I mean, at one point they had so many injuries that they were literally bringing guys up from the G League. So that's why I say I know that Jazz fans really want Rudy and Don to be in the MVP conversation, but the fact is that the Jazz without Don went I think 11 or 12 or 13-5, like something like that. So you're still a dominant team without him, and you look at
and that's not saying they didn't miss him.
No, of course they missed him. Yeah, I mean any team would. But what I'm saying is that when you look at the MVP conversation, sit Steph down and see what happens to the Warriors. Nothing good. You sit.
Their season's over.
Yeah, I mean they're not doing
their
anything.
Season's over.
Yeah, so it's literally taken Steph winning a scoring title for them to be in the postseason. I mean that should give you enough perspective to say, okay, he's done some special things.
Yep, totally agree. James Jensen, good morning to you, says put Rudy on any team and they will be the best offensively. Well, that's all well and good, but what's that do for you offensively? And I know I say this all the time, but James and any other Jazz fan, you just explained to me in the last 5 minutes. You're down, especially if you're trailing. If the Jazz are losing in the last 5 minutes, Rudy Gobert has almost no value.
Yeah.
Almost none. If you're leading by between a bucket and 6, 7, 8 points, okay, now you can leave him there because he can lock you defensively. He can really help you defensively. But if that team shoots a lot of threes, what's Rudy Gobert's best offense? Well, making sure that he's the only one getting rebounds.
Yeah.
So he's really limited, especially in end half, end quarter, end game situations. He's really limited. Now, heavens to Betsy, what if, and I know this is crazy, what if the other center's Nikola Jokic? What if the other center is Joel Embiid? What if you're playing a guy like a Mikal Bridges at center? Now what happens when you have an athletic big who can shoot threes? Now Rudy Gobert's away from the basket. What if you are a Vika Zubac and they're double switching you into Patrick Beverly versus Rudy Gobert in the corner against the Clippers? Now what?
Yeah.
Now you're not the best defensive team in the NBA. Now you're not the best defensive player in the NBA. And the Jazz have not found against elite teams, because if you look at what Portland did to Rudy Gobert, if you look at what teams typically do, they switch Rudy into odd matchups. And then what's Quinn's reaction? Well, let me bring in Derek Favors. Let me take Rudy out. It's load management. We're playing him fewer minutes.
Uh-huh.
Or is it an odd matchup? Right? You look at you look at the way Quinn has had to massage their lineups, and nobody asks about it and nobody talks about it. A lot of Rudy's minutes and where and when he plays is based on who the other team is. And if you are Joel Embiid, that's not an issue. If you're Nikola Jokic, that's not an issue. And again, I look at the trend of power forwards playing center. Look at Anthony Davis. If you are Rudy Gobert, and now obviously things have changed a little bit with Andre Drummond being a Laker.
Yeah.
How does Rudy Gobert match up against the Lakers?
He's definitely not playing Anthony Davis.
Definitely not.
I mean, they'll meet at the rim many times, of course, but he's not going to be one-on-one with Anthony Davis. I don't think. I mean, I would assume the Lakers would start AD and Drummond if they were playing the Jazz. So, to me, if you're the Jazz, you're playing that matchup zone, and you're saying to Rudy, hey, you're just basically guarding the paint. That's what you're doing.
Ace says, usually this is where I would be attacking you guys for hating on the Jazz as usual, but I have to say I agree with you. I've seen it more and more, and it's your fault, but Rudy is a liability in late game situations. He is. And again, if you think we're hating on Rudy, or if you think we're hating on the Jazz,
Yeah.
tell us how that's not the case. Tell us how Rudy Gobert is a positive offensive force in the last 5 minutes of a very close game. Because I'm telling you, I don't think he is. And this is why I ask, what would this team be like if you had added more scoring at the deadline or in free agency or in buyout season?
We wouldn't be talking about Rudy.
Well, you wouldn't be, because
you wouldn't have to worry about it.
It would not be an issue.
Yeah.
And that's why I say the Utah Jazz are very good. They're not one of the elite teams in the NBA when it comes to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I hope I'm wrong, because, man, nobody wants a championship for Jazz fans more than I do.
Yeah.
But I just don't see that in the making. And there were a bunch of comments, and I meant to do this. We should read some of the YouTube comments about yesterday's show. We don't, how do we say, post-show, we don't read a whole lot of comments. We get an avalanche of comments. Just on yesterday's show.
Yeah.
Like I look at Blue Rice Inc. Who said Mitchell wouldn't be available for the first round? A lot of people are wondering, because it's not been cemented that he would be.
Yeah.
John says championship or bust? No. The bookmakers generally have it right, so a series loss to any team who isn't the Lakers, Clippers, or Nets would be highly disappointing, but the reality is the Jazz most likely lose to the Lakers, Clippers, or Nets.
Agreed.
Okay, so
I agree.
So because they're gonna lose, it's not championship or bust, right?
Yeah, I mean, look. So I think if you're in the organization, like if you're Donovan Mitchell or if you're Quinn Snyder or anybody in the organization, yeah, your goal is to win a championship. I think if the perspective that we're talking about is from a Jazz fan, which I think this comment is. I think I love to hear that people are being realistic about what this team can do against the elite teams in the league. And that's why, I think when you go up against the Lakers, the Clippers, the Nets, if you're seeing the Nets, you're in the NBA Finals. So again, I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, this has been a disappointing season if you get to the finals and you lose to the Brooklyn Nets. I'm not saying that. I think you had a hell of a run, and I think you just ran into a better team. But I think, when you're going to see one of these good teams in the West. You're not avoiding the Nuggets, Clippers, and Lakers. So
yep. Zach Gibson on YouTube says if the Jazz want to be the best, they will beat the best.
I agree.
Doesn't matter who you play in the first round; they need to win. Period. Exactly right.
Yeah.
Bernadette Diaz says, in a fan view, I want them to reach the finals, but reality is a Western Conference Finals is good enough. See, I just don't think it is. And I bring these comments up because expectations for this team, I'm telling you, start and end with Rudy Gobert's ability. If Rudy Gobert is going to contribute offensively, they're going to win an NBA championship. That just is what it is. This team, in my opinion, is an elite defensive team. They're on par with the Lakers defensively.
Yeah.
The problem is you have a lot of offensive liabilities right now. If you ask yourself this, okay, if we take Rudy out, who are our other liabilities offensively? Well, certainly Royce O'Neal, right? Royce O'Neal's a guy that doesn't give you much offensively.
Yep.
If his three ball doesn't go in, he's not scoring at all. And that's why he's a sub, he'll score 3 to 6 points a night, period. Okay, so now those are two starters, right? You're not expecting much out of Rudy Gobert offensively or Royce O'Neal.
But at least with Rudy, you're getting like 15 points just by how he plays.
But now you're down to 3 guys.
Yeah.
Right? So now you have to ask yourself, how much do you count on Mike Conley? Because there's not a backup point guard on this team. There's nothing.
You wouldn't call Jordan Clarkson backup?
I would not. I would call Jordan well, but why are they starting?
I know the way he plays is he's not a facilitator, he's a scorer for sure. I'm just saying.
Again, my question is, who's behind Mike Conley?
Yeah, I mean, look, the guys that are going to either win or lose them a championship, obviously it goes without saying, Donovan Mitchell, Mike Conley are each going to have 25 plus a night for them to be in these games and potentially winning these games. Then I look at Jordan Clarkson. I don't want Jordan Clarkson scoring 40 in the postseason. That means that they've lost. I want him scoring 25 to 30, and that's right where you want to be.
Yeah.
So right there you're 60, 70 points, right? Between just those 3 guys. So that's nice. Now the question is, what does Bogdanovich bring, and how do they get him to be a 30-point-a-night guy in the postseason?
Well, but you need to say what it is. Right there, you're relying very heavily on Bojan Bogdanovich to win you games.
Yeah.
And when you have 3 guys, maybe 4, and this is why I say you have to get Joe Ingles rolling again because he's an invaluable piece. And if you look at the best teams in the NBA, you've got to get James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving playing together, rolling. You've got to get LeBron, AD. You've got to get those 2 playing with Drummond.
Yeah.
You've got to get them playing with KCP, with Schroeder. They need time together, right? Well, now you're out of time, but guess what? I know what LeBron can do. I know what AD can do. I know essentially that Andre Drummond's going to give me between 15 and 20 boards every single night because they're just going to turn that dog loose, and that's what he does.
You know what I'm so impressed with Drummond, though? Seriously. It's not like when you go to the Lakers, there's expectations.
Yes.
Not expectations in the sense that, hey, you're going to compete with AD or something like that. It's not like that. The expectation, though, I feel like was, hey, dude, you got to come in here and you got to rebound the hell out of the ball. And he's not only done that, he's turned himself into somebody who oftentimes like really enjoys the physical battle and is sort of like almost like a bruiser for them, like he's going to physically have no problem battling Rudy Gobert on the boards. I'm not sitting here saying he's going to dominate Rudy, but what I am saying is that he's going to make Rudy work really hard to get boards. And I think that those little intangible pieces are also invaluable in the postseason because think about the Clipper game at the end of the Clipper game, earlier in the year. You put that shot up and Rudy's trying to go for that board. Kawhi comes down with it. The game's over.
Yeah.
Those kind of moments and situations in the postseason are what are going to decide the fate of this team. And so when we talk about the trade deadline or the lack of activity, we talk about the matchups. That's where the second-tier player like Drummond or Mike James or any of these guys that we've talked about, that's where they come in. Because the Jazz didn't add any of those guys, and they're only relying, again, on these 4 or 5 players to win them.
But I point to the Lakers.
Yeah.
And I say, okay, we added a bunch of pieces. But how many of those pieces are performing?
A good bit.
Look at Ben McLemore.
Yeah. Guys, yeah.
Your job is to hit threes.
Yeah.
So what is he doing? He comes in and he hits threes. Dre, your job is to come in and rebound. So what's he doing? He's giving you 15, 20 boards a night. I look at their additions. Even Wesley Matthews the other night gives them a critical offensive rebound.
Bro, that's the first time I've ever seen him do anything for them. I mean, he's been awful for them.
But in critical situations, the Lakers, you just understand that you're on the Lakers.
Yeah.
And there's an expectation that you're going to perform. I look at Rudy in the Phoenix game. Look at that rebound he didn't get.
Uh-huh.
Or that was a Golden State game, excuse me. Look at the rebound he doesn't get.
Mm-hmm. And then
it winds up.
Yeah.
What happened? It winds up in Steph's hands at the end of all of it, right?
Yeah.
It gets tipped out to Dre, who makes the perfect pass to Steph, who got Royce O'Neal to fall asleep. Steph hits a game-winning three, essentially.
Well, and think about the mental breakdown in against Minnesota where Rudy leaves the paint. It's those kind of late game situations where you're like, okay,
Yeah.
like we in the postseason, it does kind of make you wonder, like, will they make that kind of mistake? I don't think they will. I think they'll be fine. But I guess at the end of the day, what we're really saying here is that you have a lack of firepower. Because in the postseason, you're not going to put up 53s a night. That's not happening.
Well, everything's closer, tighter. Defense is
the game is slower.
Yeah, you're not running, gunning. This is the Giannis example that we always give about how Giannis is forced to play half court offense, and it makes it a lot more difficult. And when you struggle to shoot threes consistently, when you're asked to do that in big time situations, you tend to grip the ball a little tighter. And we've seen that he's not been able to knock down threes in the postseason. Now, we've never seen Giannis hit threes at this clip in the regular season, so maybe that changes. But this is why I say home court advantage is absolutely critical for this Jazz team because they have the best home court advantage in the NBA. And if you're putting 13,000 fans in the Vivint, you're going to dominate home court advantage-wise. So let's get some comments on YouTube because there's a ton of them. Appreciate you guys being here. Troll King.
Okay, this should be good.
But Gobert is the best option for the Jazz right now. You build around the strength and weakness of your personnel. I think you want that Vucevic type of player for the Jazz. I think you need that Vucevic type player. He's a guy that we don't talk about very often.
You don't need. That's a great example, and I give you a lot of credit for bringing up his name because if they had that would be a totally different dynamic on this team. But Rudy is, twice the defender that Vucevic is.
God.
It's not even close. So like when I look at Rudy's game, I don't even need him to shoot it at the rate that Vucevic does. I need him. Just give me a little push shot in the paint,
just give me something with your back to the one shot that you can rely on with your back to the basket. That's all we need.
Give me a drop step, to your left shoulder and a hook shot with your right hand, rolling to the middle of the paint, like just something little like that. Or I know an alternative would just be more physical offensively, like get your guy on the block and play bully ball because he does do that sometimes. There are not a lot. But I've seen him do it a couple times, and he has the length to dunk over guys.
I'm telling you that Rudy doesn't want to play physical basketball.
Well, that's not in doubt. He's French, dude.
He does not.
Come on.
Wow, he's French. Okay, so he's a baguette?
No, he's soft is what he is.
He's a croissant.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that Rudy does not want to play physical basketball.
Yeah, which is why he's always complaining to the officials, and he wants all the calls, and that's not how it works in the league.
I would agree with that. Troll King finishes up and says, if you added scoring as opposed to what? Sacrificing defense? No, sir. Well, you're always going to sacrifice defense in this league because if you give up 139, you can score 140.
You honestly think that this team defensively can stop the Brooklyn Nets?
No, I do. Nobody's going to stop the Brooklyn Nets.
No, but I'm being serious.
You better be able to outscore them.
Like I'm not saying you're going to stop them from scoring 110, 120 points. But what I'm saying is that in a game when you're matched up against them, I don't even really care how many points they score. You need to score more points than them. I know that's obvious. But so what I'm saying here is, hey, can you play good enough defense to give yourself a chance to even be in that game? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Braden Christensen says, I really enjoyed your show yesterday. In your show at 6:35, Mark, you referenced Joseph Smith and Jesus Christ. Why do you have to use their names in such a negative way on this show? Okay. Braden.
Bro.
The comment, and I remember it vividly, I said, it doesn't matter if Jesus Christ and Joseph Smith are your point guards.
Yeah.
Are we really using okay. I respect your opinion. I do. I respect your opinion. James Knight says, I think home court advantage could make a significant difference in the playoffs. I would agree with that.
And that's why it was important you got the 1 seed.
James Jensen says, I hear so much about how Coach Q has been so great for the players, but yet he's going to be last in votes. The Jazz are going to the Western Conference Final and or more. I think he gets votes for Coach of the Year, Quinn Snyder, and I think he deserves that. But I think, and I'm trying to be gentle, I think this team is disappointed in recent years. You cannot lose in the first round again. if this team goes through the Western Conference into the finals, I think it's status quo. I think you're bringing everybody back. I think Quinn Snyder's a hero. I think you will have had a very good season. You will have left it disappointed. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
If you're a Jazz fan if you're a fan of the Timbuktu 3-point shooters and they get to the finals and you lose, that's disappointing. I just at some point we need to stop talking about the Utah Jazz being elite, and they need to start being elite.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how all that plays out. Giggity says, "Good morning, guys. 700 today. It would be nice. It would be nice. Last I looked, we were at 698. And I will look again. I don't know if you're saying we're at 700. We are at 698 still. Hopefully, yeah. We should.
Hit the subscribe button, bro.
We pick up between 10 and 12 subscribers every day usually on this show, so you would think so.
Yeah.
So we'll update you on the PS5 from Uzbekistan later in the show because there's a significant update. Jeremy Bolton says, "Morning, fellas. What's up? Tanner Plummer says, "Braden, how did they use their names in a negative way?" We were not using because I said it. I was not using Joseph Smith and Jesus Christ negatively. Okay, it was sarcasm. It was to prove a point that you could have the best point guards possible and you're still going to lose.
Whatever.
That was the point. Thanks, Bronny. I appreciate you backing me up, bro. Tanner Plummer says, "Out of curiosity, are you guys LDS?" We are not LDS.
No. Great question, though. Appreciate someone asking that. I think it's important.
Lewis Selder says, "Take note. We can do this." You can do this.
Yeah, listen, to be clear,
and will are different.
They're more than talented enough to do it. I just think that the issue is that in the regular season, you don't have to worry about matchups as much as you do in the postseason.
That's right.
Teams have time to prepare for you. They understand what they have to do to stop you. They understand your weaknesses, and I feel like the weaknesses defensively for the Utah Jazz are greater than they are for other teams, and that's where my concern comes in. That's all I'm saying. But hey, look, I do think that they are a good enough defensive team to make a finals run, and I think that thought is shared.
Yeah, I think that there's no question that this team is good enough to make a finals run. It's not even in doubt to me that the Utah Jazz, when they play at their best, they're the best team in the NBA. I save nobody. I think they're when they're at their best, they're on par with the Brooklyn Nets. Certainly, when they're playing their best ball, the problem is Brooklyn's got somebody who's going to score on you. And we could go back to the Mike James conversation, which was a hot topic on the YouTube comments after the show yesterday. I again go back and look at, and somebody was referencing the way he left Chishka Moscow and that fight with the coach. And hey, that's all well and good. You know, and for those of you who don't know, Mike James, the guard of the Brooklyn Nets, was having the best season of his career in Europe. I think he had won 5 of 6 MVP of the Month awards. Like, Mike James was dominating in Europe. He got into an altercation with the head coach at CSKA Moscow and asked to leave the team. And they allowed him to leave the team and go search for an NBA contract. They released him. He came back, and he doesn't have an agent. For those of you who don't know this, Mike James doesn't have an agent. But what he does have is a good friend who happens to be really close friends with Kevin Durant's brother, who also, by the way, happens to be close friends with Mike James.
Yeah.
So what do you think happened? Kevin Durant went to the Nets and said, "Hey, Mike James is available. We probably ought to sign him. Because if he doesn't sign with us,
he's going to sign with somebody."
The Clippers and the Nuggets are looking to sign Mike James. The Nuggets had made an offer to Mike James. He took less money to go to the Nets to sign a 10-day contract. The Clippers and the Nuggets had offered him guaranteed money the rest of the year.
Yeah.
He went and signed a 10-day contract to play with the Brooklyn Nets, and he has rewarded them. And he signed 2 10-day contracts, and now he's guaranteed the rest of the year. And he's in probably the best position to win an NBA championship. Oh, by the way, the Jazz, by all accounts, never called.
Yeah.
So I just think it's an interesting
thing.
It is. Bolton says Jimmer better than Mike James.
Oh, stop.
Star trolling. Exactly. I just think it's Tanner, stop. Tanner asks, Karl Malone is Joseph Smith? Question. Stop it, Tanner. Stop it. John Mulvaney says John Stockton is Jesus Christ. Look.
God bless.
Maybe. I don't know. John rack attack. John is a saint. No, that's Bill Gates, the rack attack.
Oh, boy.
We'll talk about that, too. Look, you guys, it was said in jest.
Here's the deal.
I meant no offense to anybody, right? That's what I'm saying. Forgotten Soul says, I think we are higher on quality start from a championship.
What?
I think we are one higher quality star from a championship.
Oh, he's saying we're one star away from being a championship
Sorry,
contender.
I have like Yelp reviews in my head. You're only 4 stars and you want to be 5? I would agree. You are one stud away from a championship. I agree with that. If we go to the finals, we might be able to attract some free agents. Then again, it's Utah, so probably not.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Illick Ginick says Mike James greater than Jordan Clarkson. Well, it depends on what you want. Jordan Clarkson's a better scorer than Mike James. But Mike James is superior in everything else. His finishing ability, his handle, his facilitation, his lob off the backboard to superstars like Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Mike James is a complete point guard. And my guess is he's going to sign a multi-year extension with Brooklyn. I'd be real surprised if he didn't have a full-time ride in the NBA next year. I'd be really surprised about that. It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting. John Mulvaney says, get Cameron Payne in the offseason. I don't know about that. Jeffrey Epstein talk? No, John Mulvaney, not Jeffrey Epstein talk. Giggity says, wasn't Joseph Smith a known con man back in his day? No, he was not a known. Was he murdered? Yes. He was not a con man. Jeremy Bolton says, dude, we get it. D Wade now. We got D Wade now. You do. I think again, I won't use Joseph Smith or Jesus Christ. Okay.
What?
You could have,
Tony Montana.
No, I'm not going to keep doing it. I'm not. You could have the greatest recruiter ever, and I don't think some guys just have it in their head that Utah's not a place they want to play ball.
Right.
So, and I think you just have to realize that. I don't know. Anyway, Ace says, why do you guys seemingly always say bad things about Jordan Clarkson? The guy just scores. Well, I don't know that we say bad things. I think you have to recognize that Jordan Clarkson is an elite scorer. There's no doubt. He is hot and cold. He is.
There's a balance that he needs to find, and he's always trying
I would agree.
to find, which is if you're a 6-man, you're a Jordan Clarkson, a Lou Williams,
Yes.
that kind of guy in the league. There's a balance that you need to find, which is, yes, you need to come in and you need to get buckets. No doubt. That's your job. But at the same time, you cannot come in and let's say that you're having a bad shooting night. Everybody goes through it. You can't come in, go 1 of 7 in 15 minutes, let's say, and turn it over 3 times. That kills the momentum of the team. That can't happen. And so what happens is when everything's going great with Jordan Clarkson, awesome. He's 25 to 30 a night. He's had some 40-point-a-night performances in which they don't win the game. And why is that? Because 40 points out of Jordan Clarkson means that you're way behind and he's getting too many minutes. That's the problem. So that's why
I would agree with that.
It's not that we're ripping Jordan Clarkson.
Why did he score 41 against Golden State and they lost?
Yeah, like it's not that we don't like Jordan Clarkson. It's that once again, whether we're talking about Jordan Clarkson, Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, any of these guys, they have a role and they have limits to how much you want them to produce to get the ideal outcome. And 40 is not it.
And by the way, all of this goes away if Donovan Mitchell's healthy.
Yeah,
It
clearly,
does. And
yeah.
And again, I don't want to get too far away from this. The priority is not Jordan Clarkson scoring 40. It's Bojan Bogdanovic scoring 30.
Yeah.
How do you keep that going with Donovan Mitchell, with Mike Conley? And how do you get 15 and 15 out of Rudy Gobert every night in the playoffs? Because that's what it's going to take. That's what it's going to take. And I think they're just a really good club. They
have quirks.
And they rely on the three ball too much. Mick wants to know, why do you guys write off Quinn for Coach of the Year? Well, because Tom Thibodeau coaches the New York Knicks.
Yeah, and there's a guy named Monty Williams coaching Phoenix.
I think Monty Williams deserves a ton of run in the Coach of the Year. I just think when you put the Knicks back in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think the branding that is the Knicks wins him the award.
I just don't know how he loses.
Yeah.
That award. I mean, this is what I say about Nikola Jokic. I don't know how he loses the MVP. Doesn't mean he should win it, but at this point, we're too far down the road I think we're too far down the road to give it to anybody but Tom Thibodeau. That team really saw a turnaround.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's already. I think I think Quinn Snyder's in there. I mean, I'm looking at some of the lists. I look at all these guys. Everybody is voting for Tom Thibodeau. Like Dan Feldman, Tom Thibodeau, Monty Williams, Quinn Snyder.
Yeah.
Kirk Helen, major NBA voice. Tom Thibodeau, Monty Williams, Quinn Snyder.
Yeah.
I look at all of these guys. Everybody's got Tom Thibodeau and Monty Williams 1 and 2.
Think of it this way. The formula to win Coach of the Year is you got to take a bad team to higher places. The Jazz were not a bad team last year.
No.
And they've been the best team in the league this year. So I think, while it's not taking anything away from Quinn, I just think when you're talking about winning individual awards, there's definitely a way to win them. And taking a pretty good team to higher levels is not how you win Coach of the Year.
Yeah, and I think you're going to lose NBA Coach of the Year with the best record in the NBA.
Which you're fine with.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I think that if winning percentage decided Coach of the Year, I mean, we would know.
Then, yeah.
But when you look at the obstacles you have to overcome, when you look at the lack of depth on that Knick team, and you look at the production that Tom Thibodeau's gotten out of Julius Randle and Barrett and the way he's brought a lot of those guys up, it's hard to win in basketball games as a head coach of the Knicks. I mean,
yeah.
It really is. And I'm not saying it's easy with the Jazz. I'm certainly not saying it's easy with the Suns.
Right.
The problem for Monty Williams is more people give credit to Chris Paul than they do to Monty Williams. And I think that's why Monty Williams won't win the award. I actually would give it. If I was voting, I think I would probably vote Monty Williams 1, Quinn Snyder 2, Tom Thibodeau 3.
Yeah.
I think Monty Williams deserves to be the coach of the year. Like, to have the worst owner in the NBA, arguably, and to take the talent that they've had, that roster is largely the same. Look what he's getting. Monty Williams is getting out of his entire roster, top to bottom. They play 86 guys. If you look at Cam Payne on his own,
yeah,
the development that Cameron Payne's had, he was out of the NBA.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at Devin Booker's mid-range development, I look at DeAndre Ayton offensively. He is evolving. Now, he still can't guard. He can't guard the stanchion, for crying out loud. The guy, he is just not a great defender. But you know what he is now? He's a motor guy. He's an effort guy who will tip the ball up until he gets it from you. Ask Rudy Gobert. Rudy and he battle routinely. I look at Monty Williams and the development that Monty Williams has brought to the Phoenix Suns, and I say to myself, man, Bridges alone.
Yeah.
Bridges' development as a defender.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been, and his ability to make the three.
Cam
Johnson's development as more than a situational corner spot up three shooter has been remarkable.
Bro, they bring him in as a firecracker off the bench, man.
Yeah.
I mean, they bring him in for a quick 8 to 10 points and then take him out.
And by the way, how much did they miss him when he was hurt the last 2 weeks of this? They really missed him. And, and I think that's why I would give it to Monty Williams, but that's just me,
Yeah.
Forgotten Soul says Quinn is stubborn and never adjusts. I would agree with that. This team is who this team is. They're going to shoot as many threes as they can.
Live and die.
And if it goes in, they're going to win. And if it doesn't, they're not going to win.
Yep.
They're not. Because, again, I'll say it's cool that you're an elite defensive team, but this Jazz team does not get that one stop they need when they need it.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lakers do. Surprisingly, Again, watching Brooklyn the other night, I was surprised that Kyrie Irving actually wants to play defense.
Well, so here's the thing. They're going to be a good defensive team in the postseason. They have the length, they have the size. They just have to kind of get it going on that end of the court. I mean, so often when you throw together the caliber of, offensive player that they have in KD, Harden, and Kyrie, I mean, those guys are focused on knocking down Jays, But if you can even get, not even elite defense, just like marginal defense, just keep teams, under 120 a night, you're going to win most of those games.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think now, obviously, there's a battle between Monty Williams and Quinn Snyder in the comments.
To the death.
the John Mulvaney says the great things you say about Monty Williams, you can say about Quinn Snyder. But here's the thing. If you look at what Monty Williams has to work with, I mean, Mikal Bridges is a great player, but he's brought him up to 13.5 points a game, and he's a defensive stopper.
Where's the development in, I don't know.
Let me ask, where's the development that you've seen in a guy like DeAndre Ayton offensively? Like his offensive game has grown significantly. DeAndre Ayton is a double-double guy now. Mm-hmm. And when he came out of Arizona, he wasn't double-double nothing.
Right.
Like, I mean, he was struggling. He's turned him into a much better shot blocker now. He's actually over a block a game. Like, I look at that development. I look at their bench guys. I look at Torrey Craig. Torrey Craig might be the best example.
Yeah, nobody knows who Torrey Craig is, yet he's a great player for them.
And he bounced around the league.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, you look at guys like, look at E'Twaun Moore winning them a game the other night.
Yeah.
They didn't play their number ones the other night.
Nope.
Look at E'Twaun Moore. Like, Devin Booker doesn't play.
Bro, that second unit came in with a mission. I mean, they came in with a mission to get the job done.
Because they're ready to play.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I look at what Monty Williams has to work with, and I think it's far less than what Quinn Snyder has to work with. Just your starting five alone, I look at, now obviously you're doing this without Donovan Mitchell, so you deserve credit for that. Mm-hmm. But George Niang is a really, really dependable three-point shooter. Right? Now, he doesn't give you anything much outside of that.
Yeah.
He's not great defensively. He will occasionally get to the basket, but George Niang's in the game to do one thing. Mm-hmm. He is in the game to let somebody sag off of him so he's open for three, and he knocks that three down, and he does it really well. But I look at Royce O'Neal. What's Royce O'Neal's development been?
Stop somebody. That's all he's got.
He's not an offensive player.
Dude, if we're going to talk about someone not developing, let's not beat around the damn bush. You want to talk about not developing somebody? Where's the development of a guy named Rudy Gobert's jump shot? Where's that development? Where's the development of the back to the basket game? Where is the development of just simply being able to make layups? Like you want to talk about developing guys. Monty Williams and that staff have developed all those guys that you were just talking about. You want to talk about a guy who's developed? Look at Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson has developed a lot. Like, he's come a long
Massive
way
development
since he first came into the league.
But I look at a couple other things. Okay, so just look at the starting five, the changes in the starting five, right? Obviously, Phoenix adds Chris Paul. Their fortunes change. Okay, cool. Rudy Gobert is not developed as an offensive player. Mm-hmm. I look at the inconsistency in Bojan Bogdanovic. This back to the basket thing, this get after it at the rim thing, he's always been that guy. When he got to Utah, he started shooting a lot more threes. And so when he struggled from three, I don't know, was it the red shoes or was it Quinn Snyder that said go to the basket?
Both.
Okay, so let's give him some credit for that. But I look at Joe Ingles. I think Joe Ingles is regressing, not progressing. I look at Royce O'Neal. He is not a guy you can count on offensively. I look at Mike Conley. I think the biggest tip of the cap to to Quinn Snyder on Mike Conley is the management of minutes. It's not Quinn Snyder's fault that Mike Conley won't or can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
Right? I look at Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell's grown every year he's been with the Jazz. He's become a better player every year he's been with the Jazz.
He's also a special player, though.
He is. He's a superstar.
He's one of those guys.
But Devin Booker's that guy, too. He's not. I get it. He's not a superstar. You guys have all convinced me and told me how stupid I am for slurping Devin. And
Whatever.
He's not elite. He's not great. He's not very good at all. Actually, Devin Booker sucks. So I guess he's not. Well, Chris Paul would be a superstar, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, Chris Paul should be in the MVP conversation. So.
Haters. John Mulvaney says Royce O'Neal's a D-leaguer. Mr. Mitch says, wow, finally saying nice things about the Jazz. What happened?
I love that. I love that comment.
I'm just going to move on.
Like, do you even listen to the show, man?
Jeremy Bolton says O'Neal is an elite defender, though. How many elite defenders do you need when you are going to struggle to outscore teams? Because you're going to find yourself, if you're playing under 100 points, you're not going to win. If you're playing under 105 points in the playoffs, I don't think you're going to win. The problem is, if I look at the Lakers are the best defensive team in the NBA, in my opinion. Well, they also happen to score a hell of a lot of points. The Lakers are going to put up 110 points in the playoffs. If they're healthy, if it's AD, LeBron, Dre, Schroeder, they're going to score 110 points in the postseason.
Yeah.
Can you say the same thing about the Jazz? I don't know. What Donovan Mitchell am I getting? I don't know. What is Bogey shooting threes? Is he still going to the basket? Like, what are we getting from Jordan Clark? Like, you have all these questions. If the Lakers are healthy, they're scoring 110 points.
Yeah.
Because if it ain't AD, it's LeBron. If it's not LeBron, it's going to be Schroeder. It's going to be KCP. It's going to be Kuzma. It's going to be more. Like, they've got guys who they know they can count on.
They got guys.
And I would say, who's the offensive zero on the Lakers? Of their top 8 guys, who's the zero? Who's the guy that's not going to contribute at all?
Well, not going to contribute at all. I think Montrezl Harrell is probably on the lower end offensively, but
Do you want me to pull out the stat book?
Go ahead, pull it out, dude. Compare him to other people. He puts up 10 to 15 points a night compared to other guys that's on the lower end.
So
right?
Montrezl Harrell would be your Derek Favors then.
Yes,
right?
Correct.
I'll take Montrezl Harrell over Derek Favors.
Of course, every day of the week, twice on Sunday.
They don't have a guy who's a liability offensively.
Okay, that's a different. Yeah, I understand the point you're trying to make. They're twice as deep as the Jazz are.
Right, but I look at Royce O'Neal.
Yeah.
Oh, he's an elite defender who I can't give the ball to.
Yeah.
Oh, I look at Rudy Gobert, Defensive Player of the Year, who I can't give the ball to.
Yeah.
Like, you have multiple guys. You want Trent Forrest shooting a 3 in the playoffs? Because I don't.
Yeah.
Right? Like, are we going to see I think we'll probably see Oni. I don't think we'll see any of Trent Forrest. And if Trent Forrest is playing for the Jazz, I'm telling you, it's not a good thing.
Yeah, you're in trouble at that point.
Yet I can tell you that we're going to see Cantavius, Caldwell Pope. We're going to see Caruso. We're going to see Schroeder.
Kuzma.
Like, you're going to see the depth of the Lakers. By the way, they're so good in the 4-5 that Montrezl Harrell didn't really have minutes the last week of the season.
Yeah.
Think about that. Montrezl Harrell didn't have minutes on the Lakers the last week of the season.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science. They're with Andre Drummond, they're really deep now.
Yep.
So that's what I would say. Mulvaney says, without CP3, the Suns lose 8 or 9 more games. Well, the problem is they had him. So
I'm guessing that are you trying to make the case for MVP for Chris Paul? Is that?
No, there is some, I think, I don't know. This is just me. Casey Finlinson says, Royce settles. The D slacks off of him so much. He should use his athleticism and attack the basket, but he settles. Well, and he's got this knee thing that you can clearly see that Royce O'Neal's not the same player now that he was when he was healthy.
Yeah.
But nobody's healthy at this point. I don't know. It is what it is. I'm just saying that both of these coaches, Quinn Snyder and Monty Williams, I think should be 1-2 in the Coach of the Year. I still think Thibodeau wins it. I think he's probably because he's the coach of the Knicks and they're in the playoffs. I think he probably wins it.
Yeah, agreed.
I don't think anybody cares about their win percentage or.
Yeah, come on.
Come on. I think Quinn Snyder and Monty Williams, by the way, on the whole, have done a good job developing guys.
Yeah,
they've done a really nice job developing guys. Couple other NBA stories, real quick. What do you make of Lonzo Ball's restricted free agency? Because I think he's actually going to be in demand. There was a story yesterday where he was quoted as saying he'd love to return to New Orleans. You cannot tell me that the Knicks are not going to go and make a hard push for Lonzo Ball.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be in demand. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think Lonzo is... I think the only thing that Lonzo is trying to control is he just wants to make sure that he doesn't turn into a player that bounces around the league on mediocre teams.
Yes.
Because he was on a mediocre team when he got drafted. He's on a mediocre team now. Even before the injuries, when Zion and Bi were playing, they're a mediocre team. I
would agree.
And so I think he's trying to do one of two things depending on what happens. If he goes to another team, he wants to go somewhere where he can contend just to get into the postseason. So if that's the Knicks, great. I truly don't believe there's any player in the league right now who wouldn't go and play for the Knicks with where they're at. But then secondly, let's say that he goes back, to the Pelicans. I think he wants the narrative about him to be, hey, this is a team guy. This is a guy who's willing to work through a rebuild and, be loyal.
The other team that's on him, supposedly, is the Chicago Bulls. And if I'm Lonzo Ball, I want nothing to do with the Chicago Bulls.
Why would you go to Chicago if you're him, dude?
Because now they've got 3 legit guys. I mean, you've got guys that can score the ball there, but I mean, they're not going to win.
Yeah.
They're the Chicago Bulls. You can see the Knicks, they have the revenue to spend and win a championship, and my guess is they're going to go out and get free agents because who doesn't want to win a championship at the Garden?
Yeah.
But I'm staying out of there. There is no way. There's just not. I mean, listen, there are a few teams. If the Lakers call you, why are the Lakers so deep? Because Cantavius wanted to come back to L.A.
Yeah. Guys
like Schroeder want to be in L.A. Guys like Dre want to be in L.A.
And that's the difference. That's the difference. I mean, again, that's why we always get these comments about, oh, well, nobody wants to come to Utah. Well, maybe win a championship and that narrative changes,
Yeah. Austin Parkins says, I feel like if the Lakers were as deep as you say they are, they wouldn't be 7 or 8, seed 7 or 8, despite the injuries. They were without Anthony Davis and LeBron James.
They literally are making the postseason on their second unit.
Yeah, I have no idea what team would survive. That'd be like Portland without Damon McCollum. That would be like the thing is, everybody wants to compare the Lakers and AD and LeBron to the Jazz without Conley and Donovan. The problem is the Jazz don't have a minted superstar. Donovan Mitchell is not LeBron James or Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
He's not. So you look at the way the Jazz play team ball, right? And the way they've been able to win is Bojan Bogdanovic got hot going to the basket, and you've been able to get contributions from a couple of other guys. One night it's Jingles, one night it's Bogey or it's Clarkson but you bring back Conley and Donovan. Do you want to see the Lakers?
No.
You don't. Because those two guys, Anthony Davis and LeBron James, are in the argument for the best players in the world. Not in the league, in the world.
Yeah.
And you think about the best big in the NBA, make me an argument that it's not Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
You have to be realistic about that. And I can't remember who said that now. I think it was Austin. You can't make the comparison. I don't think you can make the comparison. Axel Granzini, good morning to you. As a Jazz fan, I'm worried about our offense only being run through Don and Mike. You should be. Because Bojan Bogdanovic has really, I think, shown you that he can be a different kind of player.
Yeah.
Because now he doesn't have to rely on the 3, and I think that's why his confidence has gotten better.
Yep.
Pete says, I'm a huge Laker fan, first time listening to your show. I'm glad to see that you guys understand who the Lakers are, because it doesn't seem like ESPN does. Well, I think ESPN is never going to be right. I mean, everybody says that they show the Lakers too much, and now they don't know who they like. And this is out of, terrible talk shows, with all due respect, on TV saying, oh, the Lakers aren't winning a championship. And okay, cool.
Yeah.
Maybe they won't win a championship. I don't know. To me, the Lakers are one of the most dangerous teams in the playoffs right now because there's an unknown.
Yeah, and I think that we've never been through a season like this, and I think that this, the you using the word unknown, I feel like that's the perfect word to describe, the way this season has gone down. Whether you look at, hey, this is the first year we're rolling out a play-in tournament, or you look at all the injuries, or just all the stuff that they've had to deal with. The fact that now they're even have a shot to make a title run is just insane.
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane. And then the idea that you're going to do it now with LeBron and AD and Drummond and all these guys, I mean that's why they should. That's why if you're a Jazz fan, you should be a little worried about them because they won the title last year. I'm not going to say that they've got nothing to play for. I mean, you're the Lakers, you have expectation, but frankly, if they lose, they're not going to get crucified. I mean, it is what it is.
But I go back to the Nets that play the other night, that unbelievable alley-oop to Rhea.
Yeah.
Who made that play? Blake Griffin and Mike James.
Yeah.
Who is helping the Lakers? Get through. It's guys like Andre Drummond.
It's always the second-tier player that ends up winning
Ben
you the
McLemore.
championship, dude.
But that second-tier player has to be on the team.
Yeah.
And you look at the Lakers, you look at the Clippers with Rondo, you look at, Rondo's going to be a huge factor if they win a championship. They went out and got him.
Yeah.
I look at the Nets, I look at the Lakers, I look at the Utah Jazz.
Wait, yeah, who'd the Jazz go out and get?
But they didn't. And I know we've had this conversation 1,000 different ways to, All Saints Day. Sorry to tell you,
All Saints Day.
They didn't go out and get anybody. This is the same team it was a year ago. Oh, but we have Trent Forrest, and we're going to retire his number. And that Trent Forrest and Oni and Azubuike and
cool.
You did not and make this team better. And
They're
I think
players of consequence.
I think you better be ready for that. Bolton says, wouldn't it be better to see the Lakers early when they're coming back from injuries and trying to figure things out rather than later on when they start to gel better? I think the Lakers don't have much to figure out. We saw it the other day when LeBron's second game back after he was healthy. I mean, he's dunking on people the other day. He looks fine, and then he tweaks his ankle when they're up 12 in a meaningless game in the fourth quarter.
I've heard this take over the last couple of days, about, hey, you want to see the Lakers before they get it all figured out. And what I'm telling you is they got it all figured out in the bubble last year. They're not the Brooklyn Nets. This team has played together. They know what to do.
They've spent a lot of time playing together.
Yeah, so they don't need to worry about the chemistry issues and all that. I just don't. I think if you're sitting here saying, hey, don't you want to get them early, while they have chemistry issues, you don't understand what happened in the bubble last year, and you don't understand the fact that this team's been together for a long time.
And by the way, they're not adding Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and Kevin Durant, who haven't played much together. Andre Drummond's a guy that you say, hey, go get the ball. And he goes and gets the ball. That's his job.
And then outlet it, and that's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Go rebound. That's all you have to do. There are other guys that have been in the system. Ben McLemore, stand in the corner at the elbow and shoot threes. That's your only job.
Yeah.
That's it. And he does it very well.
Yeah.
That's why I say I don't necessarily worry about the Lakers as much. By the way, what do you make of Charlotte, Indiana tonight? I think the Charlotte Hornets, if they win that game, are very, very dangerous in the East. I would not. If they win and they get into the playoffs, because I don't know how they lost that game the other night, but now they're 10th. They win and they progress through and they get into the playoffs. I would not want to run into the Charlotte Hornets. If I'm the Sixers, that's not the team I want to see.
That is the ultimate, hey, we have nothing to lose team. Shouldn't be here, nothing to lose. Let's just leave it out there.
Super young.
Yeah.
You look at guys. I look at the guys that make up this Charlotte Hornet team, and it's obviously Terry Rozier, but I view him as very hot and cold. So I look at Miles Bridges, P.J. Washington, LaMelo Ball. I mean, they have guys. You know what was really surprising to me is that Miles Bridges is playing, and I said Mikal Bridges before, I think. But Miles Bridges is playing a lot more 5. Mm-hmm. They're using him in a lot of different ways now that he's back and healthy. They're a dangerous team.
But why are they doing that? Because what they're going to try and do, and again, I don't think this necessarily works great in the postseason. Just if you watch postseason basketball, you'll understand this. But they're going to continue to try to get out and run. I mean, they're going to continue to try to play with insane pace and try to tire teams out. And that's why you see Bridges at the 5, because you've got a guy in LaMelo Ball who, whether you love or hate LaMelo Ball, he is one of the best passers in the league already. And
he's making the 3.
Yeah, and so
with this wrist injury,
when you have a guy,
healed.
Listen, when you have a guy who's that confident in his ability to pass the basketball, you need to give him options. You need to get out, you need to run and put him in a position to make plays. And if you do that, you're gonna do fine.
Yeah. James Knight says, I would take Donovan Mitchell over AD all day long. James,
James, have fun on your island out there in Australia.
Bro.
Anthony Davis is going to go ahead and win a championship, okay? Because that's
Can I get some of what you're smoking? Because
that must be the 4X Gold stuff.
You're high as a kite if you're taking Donovan Mitchell over Anthony Davis. Crazy. Yeah. Reed Holmberg. Wow, Reed, what's up, man? I haven't heard your name in a while. Hey, fellas, love the show. If I'm the Jazz, I'd like to avoid the Lakers like the plague. Exactly.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, I want to see a wounded Nuggets team, and I want to see a Clippers team that has for years at this point struggled to prove it in the postseason.
And by the way, you're going to miss a bunch of those guys because you got the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
So that's why I say avoid the Lakers like the plague.
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%. Mulvanian says, let someone else beat the Lakers in the first round.
Yeah. Hey.
I'm with you.
Excellent strategy, sir.
Anthony Edwards or LaMelo Ball for Rookie of the Year, James wants to know.
I
think LaMelo missed a lot of time with that wrist.
I think who's going to win it? I think Anthony Edwards is going to win it. Who's the better player? Who has more upside potential?
Oh, LaMelo Ball.
Well, yeah, I think for that organization and what LaMelo brings, yeah, I think he's going to have a great career. I think if you're asking me who's a better cornerstone, I probably would go with Edwards because I think he's got a better body and I think he can do more for you. That said, to get to that point, you're going to have to develop him a lot. Right out of the gate, LaMelo is doing more for an organization because you're not asking him to score. You're asking him, hey, get the ball, put other guys in a position to score, and he does that already at an elite level.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I the interesting thing is there were 3-4 questions about it.
Yeah.
Would you replace Mike Conley with Lonzo Ball?
Yes.
I would.
Yes.
I
and
would.
You know why I would? Because Lonzo Ball doesn't need to score. If you added Lonzo Ball to this team, what would happen is this team would run more. This team would get more easy looks, and I think what would happen is now you've just turned you've put Donovan Mitchell into Devin Booker's role, which is, hey, go score the basketball. Don't worry about bringing the ball up so much.
Yep.
And I think that is truly a special place to be if you're Donovan Mitchell, but too often he has to play point guard.
Bolton says, if the Jazz beat the Lakers, Clips, and Suns, could this be the greatest championship run through the toughest teams in NBA history?
Yeah.
It could, but that would never happen because of the way the playoffs are structured. Those teams are going to run into each other. And the Jazz are at the number 1 seed. You know, they're going to wind up playing the bottom of the bracket. Well, I mean, if you look at what the first round looks like,
dude, in the middle of the West, it's to the death. Like, it's not good.
I mean, like,
it's not good.
I'm telling you, I look at the Suns Blazer or the Suns. The 2-7 would be the Suns Lakers. Good luck. The 3-6 is the Nuggets and the Blazers.
Good luck.
The 4-5 is the Clippers and the Mavericks.
That's a tough series.
I mean, to me, the
Jazz have the easiest first round matchup,
dude. I don't know,
which is how it should be, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you feel confident at all about me. I mean, you're in trouble, man. Like,
and if you're the Lakers too, to be clear, nothing's guaranteed. If you're the Lakers, I do think that they're going to make a deep run because of the roster they have, but they still got to go out and do that. They still got to go out and prove that they can, beat these teams for sure.
I think the Lakers are going to be the 7.
Yeah, and
I think you're going to get Phoenix and the Lakers. And I think you're going to wind up with either Golden State or Memphis.
Yeah.
And if I am the Utah Jazz, don't bring Memphis here. Please let it be Golden State. Because I think Memphis scared you a little bit. You beat them back to back.
Yeah, I mean, let's not beat around the bush though. That's a team that they should beat.
Oh, they should pound them.
They should pound.
But I don't Memphis. I would not be surprised if that's not a sweep.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me,
five gamer.
Yeah, man, it'll be interesting to see exactly what all that looks like, but it's going to be interesting. All right, can we talk about Bill Gates now?
Sure.
Please?
Yeah, sure.
I want to talk about Bill Gates.
Okay.
Now, if you were the one, I can't remember who was talking about Joseph Smith and Jesus Christ, I would encourage you probably to mute for a minute because we have to talk about Bill Gates and sex.
God bless.
Thank you. Man, that drop never not works. Bill Gates, the founder of CEO of Microsoft,
Just that little company.
Then, he's on the board. He's making trillions. Like,
Yeah, everything's great.
life is perfect.
Yeah.
Then apparently he started planting seeds in another woman's garden.
Cocaine and hookers, my friend.
Bill Gates resigned from the board at Microsoft, surprisingly.
Uh-huh.
People are like, what the hell? Well, it turns out he resigned from the board because he was caught having an affair with a Microsoft employee.
Ooh.
And the investigation was ongoing, and he was probably going to get fired from the board.
Ooh.
He resigned, and then a couple months later, he got divorced.
Ooh.
Well, I'm going to guess that Melinda Gates, who's now changed her name away from Gates and is going back to French, which is her maiden name, was a little pissed off that he was parking his car in somebody else's garage.
Uh-huh.
This is, again, what I don't understand.
Right.
Somebody explain to me.
Uh-huh.
You're Bill Gates.
Right.
You're a billionaire.
Uh-huh.
You are giving your money away. You're like the philanthropist of the decade,
Right.
and you cheated on your wife
Bro.
with another employee at Microsoft?
Cock-a-doodle-doo.
You stained the sheets at Microsoft, dude. Like, what are you doing?
How is that even possible?
Like, you're Bill Gates. Guy, you're like 100 years old. And you really are going out on your wife.
Bro.
At work, and how do I say this? Like, you had an affair with your $1 billion baby.
And it's going to go into crisis lockdown mode here at the house.
Kraft went to a massage parlor.
Right.
Your massage parlor was like a boardroom or a conference room at the Microsoft building.
You're welcome.
What are you doing? Like, I'm trying to figure. I'm serious. Somebody help me understand this.
What's wrong with you?
You're a billionaire,
Yeah.
and you gave it all away because now your reputation's wrecked.
Oh, it's over. You're going to retire a billionaire. That's fine.
Bob Kraft will forever be known as the guy who got caught in a police sting in a rub and tug joint. Not the multi-time Super Bowl winner or the amazing businessman. Bob Kraft paid for sex at a massage parlor, allegedly.
Right.
And why did he not? I almost said, why did he get off? Why was he not charged? Why was he not charged? Because some cop didn't check a box on an affidavit.
Oh, shit. Damn, I am tripping.
Yeah. Now you're Bill Gates.
Yeah.
You're just sullied your entire reputation.
Empty. The opposite of full.
So that you could have sex with an employee at Microsoft? And you are Jeff Bezos. Why did you get divorced? Oh, because you were tapping some other chick outside of your marriage. The Russians and the Chinese hacked your phone and exposed that you were having an affair.
And we were saying that.
And you gave away like all of your money,
Well,
or half of it.
half.
By the way, $500 million is still $500 million.
Right. I was going to say.
But you're a dirtbag now, right? And by the way, this is Deshaun Watson all over again. You're Bill Gates.
Yeah.
You're having an affair with a Microsoft employee.
Uh-huh.
How is she not looking at you like you're a bag? Like you're a bag of money to her.
Doesn't make you feel responsible.
You're not in love. You're not in love.
Right.
What, just so you could get your whistle wet? You're giving away, like, dude, you exposed yourself. Well, okay, expose yourself is probably not the proper terminology at this moment. You opened yourself up to an incredible amount of leverage.
Right.
So did Jeff Bezos. So did Bill Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
So did Bill Gates.
Yeah.
So did all these other dudes, the Kennedys, who
Tiger Woods.
Tiger Woods. Like, if you just go down the list, man,
Yeah.
you had it all, but you had to have a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Just one more cube of sugar in the cup of coffee, right?
Right.
I don't get it. I really don't get it. It is. I guess when you have that much money, you're willing to just not care about how much money you're going to lose.
Well, because at the end of the day, what has he really lost? Think about it. Seriously. When you boil it all down, what is... Because
You really don't think loss of reputation matters to him?
no, why does it?
Oh,
Why does it
come
matter?
on.
Why does it? But seriously,
Dude,
think
you
about
are one
this.
of
Think
the
about
most
this.
charitable
No, no, no,
guys
no, no,
ever.
no, 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 no. He doesn't care about any of that. That doesn't matter. He only
Wow.
cared. He didn't. He only did that so that Microsoft's reputation and his reputation would be cool while he was there. He doesn't care about any of that in the long run. Dude, the
man.
guy's a billionaire even after the divorce. Who cares? Like, honestly, all this started in his garage with his buddy, and now he's a billionaire. You really think that this guy gives a damn about the company that he no longer is with?
At some point, guys like this, their ego means more to them than their money, which is why they wound up getting into this affair in the first place. I think if you are Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos, you're right. It probably no. I think Bill Gates cares about his reputation. Bill Gates was forced to resign from the board at Microsoft because he was having an affair with an employee.
Which is why
That's
I
shocking.
say, well, right, but if you think about it, if you're willing to have an affair, that speaks to where you're at mentally with everything. I mean, clearly, for him, he was at a place with their marriage where he didn't value it anymore. He just felt like he could do whatever he wanted.
Mulvaney says, still not as bad as Jeffrey, meaning Epstein. Come on, bro. There's never going to be anything as bad as Epstein. Jeff says, play the Wedding Crashers drop
Okay.
because Bill Gates doesn't care.
And it's going to go into crisis lockdown mode.
No,
here at
the
house.
Bakers.
Oh,
I don't give a Bakers. Fuck. Spencer Morgan says, if I was Gates, I would not give a F that anyone found out I cheated.
I don't give a baker's
I guess he doesn't. Tanner says, Monty, Jake is one of the least charitable guys ever, and I mean that as a compliment. Okay.
Hey.
Spencer Morgan says, also, we really don't know anything about their marriage relationship. It could have been horrible. She could have been unfaithful too. It's not the woman's fault. He got
Okay, fuck you. How's that?
Oh my God. It's not his wife's fault. He got caught. Like,
God bless.
he put his floppy disk in her hard drive and got caught. That's a Microsoft computer reference? Nothing? Okay, cool. No.
You're welcome.
Melinda Gates is not at fault here. Courtney Bezos, I can't remember her first name.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Sure. Whatever her first name is. Yeah.
One of the hottest, most single chicks ever, Ms. Bezos. She's wealthy.
Right.
Alert, danger fast. Here's my question: if you're a billionaire, how do you ever go out on a date and truly feel like that person loves you?
I don't know.
If you're Jeff Bezos,
Right.
if you're Mrs. former Jeff Bezos,
Yeah.
can you date with a clear conscience and be like, oh yeah, this guy loves me?
Well, you have to date a certain level of person.
Here's a Bentley.
Yeah. I mean,
Right?
you have to
Like,
date a certain level of person. at
Our
that point.
first date was in the Maldives. We flew there on Jeff's former jet.
I don't give a baker's fuck.
Right? I mean, come on. John Mulvaney says, we forgave Tiger. He will survive. I never said it's her fault. He got caught. Spencer said, okay. Vision Gaming says, but Monty, if Devin called, would you? Hell yeah. I'd hit that in a second, bro. No, Devin Booker is not on my list. I don't have a list. Do I have a list? Like,
I don't know. Do you?
I don't. Well, Meredith Vieira used to be, but now she's so saggy. Like, the girls are on the ground.
I started having second thoughts.
I don't really have a list. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm after it. Yeah, man, who's your one? The golfer girl. Thompson.
Lexi Thompson.
Lexi Thompson.
Drives a GTR. What more could you ask?
Yeah, okay. You're such a car guy. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't really have a famous person. I'm sure I do if
Really?
I thought about it. Like, it would
Yeah,
be...
let me hear some names in the comments.
Yeah, do you have, like, who's your one
after?
chick that
Who you guys going after?
and what we're talking about is, like, don't couples talk about it? Oh, yeah, she's on my list. Like, it's a free pass if you were able to score Jennifer Aniston. Mm-hmm. Right? Like,
Right.
but not Jennifer Aniston, because there's a reason she never got married. I don't know. Like, it'd be Lindsey Vonn, but I know the
No.
customers who have shopped at that store. I ain't doing that.
Yeah.
Like Britney Spears. No, Kevin Federline, man. The Unsullied. No, I'm not doing that.
Right.
There's not one off the top of my head. Like I can't think of. I don't know who that would be.
Man, that's tough.
That's
right
tough.
Top,
like I don't know who it would be. Spencer Morgan says Jennifer Aniston is boring. Could be. Melissa French is the new Mackenzie. Oh, Mackenzie Bezos. Thank you. You can have a sugar boy too. You can. You can.
Are we clear on that?
Are we clear on that?
Yeah.
I agree. Fat Jesus says Mrs. Monty is my one. Well, she'd be a hell of a catch.
Hey.
Hey, look here, man.
You know. Yeah, Axel, yeah, it is. Axel Granzini says, is the NBA rigged? What's your thoughts? No, the NBA is not rigged. I know everybody hates
Why
that.
does that always come up?
I don't know. Play the music. We should probably go. I always lose track of time. There was a major drop today, and I missed it. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I don't know. Who do you got tonight? I'm taking Charlotte.
Charlotte,
Boston
and
or Washington?
Washington.
You're going Washington.
Washington, yeah.
I think Boston's too injured.
They're out.
Yeah,
It's over.
Boston and Washington and Charlotte tonight.
Yes, Washington and Charlotte.
I'm with that. All right. Make sure you hit subscribe when we get to 750 subscribers.
Oh, you didn't give the Uzbekistan PlayStation update,
Oh,
bro.
that's
Dude.
right.
Dude.
Do we stop the music?
Okay, stopping the music.
Oh,
Update.
wow.
Let's go. Quick update. Come on.
Okay, quick update is, so I bought this PS5 to give away on the show.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago now, I think.
Right.
Or a week and a half, whatever.
Right.
They still haven't gotten a confirmation of shipping anything. So I'm on WhatsApp with the store that I bought it from. So I start doing research, and it turns out they're not in San Francisco. They are in Nigeria.
Oh.
Uh-oh. So I'm WhatsApping with the guy.
Right.
Right? And
Yeah.
he's like, hey, man, I'm sorry. We had to lay a bunch of people off because of COVID, so we're running about 10 days behind on our shipments. But your PS5 is reserved. It is here, and it'll be shipped out on Friday, and I can give you a tracking number.
Okay.
Do I cancel that?
No,
What do
I
I
mean
do?
he's communicating with you. I mean he's I mean I think if it doesn't happen Friday, I'd cancel it. Yeah, I would.
If it doesn't happen Friday,
Yeah, I would.
I'm out this piece.
And then I still have the PS4, which is a wonderful unit by the way.
yeah, so maybe we should just say that we should just, I don't know what Tanner Plummer put into the comment, but it got blocked by YouTube. I probably don't want to know. Anyway, here nor there. So yeah, we're giving away a PS5.
Yeah.
It's a matter of when.
Yeah, we're gonna give one away eventually. We just got to try and find one.
Exactly right. So you're giving away a PlayStation 5. Exactly right.
Mama hillbillies.
That's right. And it may have a hard drive or it may not. And it might come with controllers or it might not. No, we will. Absolutely. If you dispute your payment, he will lose if you can prove delivery. If he can't prove delivery, which requires a tracking number. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. All right, play the music.
All right, cool. We're playing the music a second time.
A second time. This is a real ending of the show.
Yeah. Okay. This is the real ending now.
Because, by the way, we have a handyman coming to the house today to change a ceiling fan on a 12-foot ceiling.
Oh well.
And it's a handy woman. She's like, yeah, I'm bringing a 6-foot ladder. I'm like,
Good luck. Good luck.
We'll update you. All right. Make sure you hit subscribe. I don't know how many subscribers are at, but when we get to 750, we are going to give away a PlayStation 5 and one of our brand new signature clothing line hoodies just for you. Oh, we are at $6.99. Hey, how about that?
One more. Come on.
How about that?
Who's it
Let's
gonna be?
go.
Who's it gonna be?
Who's going to be subscriber number 700? Let's go. Get there, take a picture, show it to us on Twitter, The Monty Show, MONTY, The Monty Show, Red Heart Norbis, The Jazz Huddle. Thank you guys for being here. We're out. Say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.